Well, here's the question. What kind of conversations should South Africans be having at this painful time? What does Marikana have to do with you? Historian Professor Pitika Ntuli is in studio, and we ask him those questions. Having lived in the dark days of apartheid, how does days like August 16 shape the future of this country? Let's start there. If we can. 1 year later, the killings on the Platinum Belt continue. We have the NUM and AMCU still at loggerheads, and we also see that the Commission of Inquiry has hit several snags. Your history in mining as well is quite extensive. What do you make of the situation?
Yeah, I think right up in the 80s, together with Dr. Norman Levy, we were commissioned by the United Nations International Labour Organization to prepare a document on the equality of opportunities in the mining sector. And when those recommendations were made, the conditions have now actually drastically changed. The people who are victims now are the people now. Some of them are shareholders in it. Their benefit actually up onto it. And we are now revisited, by the kind of a brutality that we actually see that we don't want to see in any democracy.
What lessons should have been learned from Marikana, and do you think they have been learned?
I don't think there are many lessons that have been learned from Marikana. The traditional healer who has to testify is married. People who have to testify is married. There is a kind of a suggestion that there are certain other forces that seem to be fueling these issues. But we should remember that we want to create a rainbow nation. We want to come up with the issue of social cohesion. We are the people of truth and reconciliation. In other words, we are people who are supposed to be geared to engaging and talking to each other. And when a discussion fails and we cannot communicate with each other, and then it becomes a language of guns with police who are now generals and this, which is not the language of civil society, but the language actually of the war, pumping their own hands after having shot actually somebody else, then we definitely realize that we are on a slippery road where human life means absolutely nothing.
You touched on something so significant that people who were once victims are now holding high-profile positions in mining organizations, that South Africans have been empowered. We're renowned for a country that's known for reconciliation. Many of our leaders are in fact brokering peace, other parts of the continent as well. So we have this rich history. Have we forgotten, Prof?
Yeah, I think there's an issue, somebody calls nice good capital. Resources that actually, people have make people absolutely, suspicious. I remember as a student, I had 10,000 that came completely from some scholarship. I was suspicious, actually, even of my close friends. Now you just imagine that there are a lot of money, there are millions involved, in these things. There are controls, there are accusations of sweetheart, actually, unions, there are investments that are in it. The lives of 44, migrant, workers, uneducated, are being, brutalized. Now they are saying those people, because of Intelezi, bullets were going to become this. Ask anybody who understands what Intelezi is. Intelezi is something that you actually take. I take Intelezi to wipe myself so that I can be nice when I meet with people. My spirit must be good. I must have a very good, fortitude. But people come up with an old apartheid logic that you take it easy, your bullets are going to be all of this. There's a whole lot of propaganda. One wonders as to what actually underpins all of these things. Who are the forces that actually control?
Now, there are those who, on the one hand, feel that as devastating and drastic as the measures were on that day in Marikana, terrible things happened. It has nothing to do with me. I'm very detached from that. As a South African, my life goes on as normal. And then in one of the newspapers this morning was a line that caught my attention saying that we are all Marikana. What do you have to say to that?
I think we are all Marikana, because all of us as South Africans today, we are living inside a bleeding wound, and all of us are tainted, with the blood. We South Africans are brilliant. We've got beautiful concepts. Ubuntu. I am because you are. But immediately it gets onto the issues of resources. You are yourself, and I am myself. I'm not involved, actually, in your life.
And very, very briefly, we are quite pressed for time, Prof. Going forward, what do we do to make sure that this time next year we're not talking about the issues that are still plaguing the Platinum Belt? What needs to happen?
I think what really needs to happen is that the different unions, the government in itself, traditional leadership, traditional healers, we all need to come over, clearly together and reassess as to whether who are we as a nation, where are we're going for. Madiba is critical and stable. And soon we are going to be saying we are going to do these things, for Madiba. And yet all of these things are happening while Madiba is exactly around with us. So we need to be neat and clear, identify who we are, what means something to us. We talk social cohesion, around which issues should we cohere.
We'll have to leave it there for now. We appreciate your time and your insights. That was historian and Professor Pitika Ntuli.
News that moves. eNCA.com.